Hello there, this is Preeti. Welcome to Stamp Along with Rubbernecker. Today I have a very fun modern farmhouse vibe kind of a card. And I'm using this Wreath with Berries die set. And this is a very fall theme card, but I just want to show you how you can change this very Christmassy kind of wreath to look like a fall wreath. So I'm just choosing a few different dies from this die set, and I'm going to die cut that using this white cardstock. I'm going to die cut each of this image multiple times, dies multiple times, and then that circle die I'm going to die cut using the craft cardstock. Then I'm also going to take this jack-o'-lantern die set, which is a cute little die set where you can make pumpkin faces, but I'm just going to use these two smaller pumpkins from this die and also the stocks for it. And I'm going to die cut that also using the white cardstock. And here you can see I've die cut all of these images multiple times. I've cut them actually 4 times each, and because I want it to be quite sturdy. And as I walk you along, I'll tell you what you could do other than a card with this particular style of wreath. Alright, so I'm taking this Glade or Glad press and seal plastic sheet, and this is going to help me to do the gluing of these die cuts. And this has really made it so much more easier and simpler to adhere die cuts to make them sturdy and make them almost look like a chipboard style. And also it helps you from keeping glue off your fingers. I don't like glue on my fingers, and this really helped me to not have a lot of glue on my finger, and also keeping the dies steady. So I'm just adhering each of these dies over one over the other to make them nice and sturdy. And you can see I'm just laying them all on this plastic sheet, and I'm just going to adhere them. And the reason why I am making this so sturdy is because I want, as I walk you along, as I told you, is if you were to use this wreath as a napkin holder, you could easily do that. And if you have it sturdy enough, it's not going to give away when you use it as a napkin ring. So now that I've done adhering these pieces together, I'm just going to take this twine. This is a really old jute twine that I have had in my stash for a long time. It's a thicker jute twine, and I'm just going to wrap this twine around that craft die cut circle that we created for the wreath. And I'm just going to take the corner or the edge of the twine, and I'm going to adhere it to my wreath so that it doesn't move on me. And I'm just going to keep wrapping this twine all around this circle. I'm also going to take a paper clip, which is right here, and I'm going to just add it to that starting point so that it doesn't give away on me. And then I'm just going to continue wrapping them. And once I'm done wrapping, when I come to the end of it, I take both the edges of the twine and I'm going to just tie a knot there. And once I'm done tying the knot, I'm just going to take a scissor and cut that extra bit off. And this is going to keep that twine put, and it's not going to move away as you use it in your project. And then I'm also going to add a bit of glue on that knot so that the knot doesn't give away or open up. Anyway, now that I have finished making this wreath base, all that is left is to adhere those elements, the pumpkin and the twine and the berries, onto this wreath. I'm just making sure that the knot is on the underside of the wreath so that I get a flat surface to adhere these elements. The berries that I die cut, I'm not going to use the entire cluster. I'm going to cut that cluster into smaller pieces, and I'm going to tuck them in places where I think it needs a little bit of a filling or a filler, like a filler space. And then I'm just going to adhere these pumpkins. Again, I'm using a strong liquid glue adhesive. You can use any glue, but make sure it is a strong. I think hot glue would work for this as well. I don't know where my hot glue gun is, so I'm not using that today. I'm just using the strong white liquid glue. I think you could also use Mod Podge and that would work as well. I'm laying the glue where I think there would be contact from the die would contact the wreath. So in this case, for the twigs, it's right in the center of those twigs. So I just added the glue on that, and then I'm just adhering it. Now I'm just adding, you saw me just cutting that berry cluster, and I'm using the smaller cluster here at this edge of this pumpkin, but eventually you'll see that I will move it from there to another place because I didn't quite like the placement of that berries. So I'm just adding the berry cluster on both sides. As I told you earlier, you can easily convert this to be a napkin ring and it will really look cute because as I said, it's quite sturdy. Now, if you were not to make it as a napkin ring, obviously you didn't have to cut so many layers. You could just do 2 layers and you'll be good to go. But I wanted to show you that you could do it both ways, and that's why I cut them quite a few times. And then I'm just taking this darker gray colored ribbon that I have had it in my stash for a long time again, and I'm just tying into a small bow, and I'm going to put it right on top of the wreath, just to add a little bit of color to this, to the very white elements that I have. Now you can definitely color these elements which are without any problem, but I wanted to give it that really farmhouse feel, boho chic look. So that's why I kept all the elements white. Now I'm creating a plaid background. It's really easy to create a plaid background this way. And it's not really a plaid, I would call it like a checkered, black and white checkered background. So what I did is I took this washi tape and I adhered them um, half an inch apart, just eyeball them, and I'm taking this gray color fuse ink and the darkest of the gray colors, and I'm just rubbing it directly onto the cardstock. The cardstock I'm using is a Bristol Smooth white cardstock, and that really helps the colors to move, the ink to move smoothly. And then once I'm done adding this color, I'm just going to remove that washi tape and I'm going to heat set it because I don't want this color to smudge and go on the places where it is white, because I want it to be really nice and white. And then once I'm done drying it, and this is how it's going to look, now I'm going to turn the paper 90 degrees and I'm going to repeat this process again. So I'm going to add the the washi tape half an inch apart. The washi tape itself is half an inch, so I could get the squares to look exactly the same size. So again, I'm going to place this washi tape all over the cardstock, and this time I'm taking the same gray ink, but instead of going directly onto the paper, I'm using this blending pen to blend that onto the cardstock. And the reason for that is because I wanted the color to be lighter than the dark color. Usually when you look at plaids or you look at any what do you call this crisscross patterns, you have two shades of the colors. If you don't have very similar shades, so I just wanted that look, so I went with a lighter shade of the same color on the other side, and then I just cut that cardstock down to 3 inches by 5.5 inch. And I'm taking this side folding note card, white note card, and I'm going to adhere this panel onto this white note card using some foam adhesive, and then I'm going to adhere this wreath over this white over this plaid background that we created. Now the inspiration for this plaid came from my dining room runner, table runner. This season I am obsessed with the black and white plaid a lot, and I really wanted to make a card using that, and this wreath was just the perfect one to add to this beautiful plaid background that we created. And then all I'm doing is I'm adding this wreath using the same liquid adhesive. I don't want to use any firm tape on this because the wreath is quite bulky by itself. And I didn't want to add any more bulk to this card, so I'm just adding that using some liquid adhesive. And once I'm done placing that in its place, for the sentiment, I wanted the sentiment to be, again, very linear, very modern, very crisp and simple. I didn't want to use any scripty die, and I didn't have anything on hand that was with this kind of a font. So I just took my Dymo label maker, it's a embossed label maker, and I embossed the letter grateful, or not the letter, the word grateful, and I'm adhering that under this wreath using some foam tape. And I really liked how beautiful this card turned out. I was just in love with this card. And now it's time to add some sequins. I didn't want the sequins to be off colors. I wanted it to be very similar. So these are some iridescent sequins, and I took them in different sizes, and I placed them some closer to the sentiment, and some within the wreath, and some on the wreath as well, just to add a little bit of shine to this card. And I really liked it, and you can see how beautifully those sequins shine. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you'll give this wreath a go. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you next time. You have a wonderful day. Bye bye.